to Washington Watch. So good to have you with us. Let me remind you, don't miss the opportunity to take advantage of FRC's limited time Giving Tuesday $100,000 challenge match. And we're actually starting a little early, beginning right now, a day early, to double your impact for faith, family, and freedom. Give us a call. Got folks standing by to take your call. 800-225-4008. That's 800-225-4008. Or go to TonyPerkins.com and donate today. Double your giving. All right, if you were like me over the Thanksgiving weekend, well, I'm going to out myself. I didn't stay home locked in. I went, and in fact, we had a big family reunion. Yes, we did. And we had a great time. We had a great time. Had a lot of good food, fellowship. Hadn't seen family in a while, so it was a good time. But the conversation was all about the election. What's happening? And people concerned, people not trusting the outcome, and with good reason. In fact, this issue is far from resolved. Joining us now to talk more about what is happening in Georgia as the recount is underway, and a lot of things that raise more questions than we started with, is Cleta Mitchell. She has 40 years experience in election law, and she joins us now. Cleta, welcome to Washington Watch.
Well, thank you so much, Tony. It's great to be with you. And I want to share with you that I also did not isolate myself for Thanksgiving. We had a dozen people in our home, and we prayed, and we enjoyed fellowship. And we don't think that the government can tell us we can't do that.
I agree. And, I mean, we encourage those that had underlying maybe health issues to stay home, and we actually Zoomed in a couple of people. But all of the younger folks, we all got together, and we had a great time. And yes. I think we need to make those decisions for ourselves. We don't need some government bureaucrat or some overreaching governor to make that decision for us. But don't get me started on that, Cleta. I'll spend the whole program on that. I want to talk about something more importantly that you've been up to your neck in, and that is the recount in Georgia. In fact, today filing another demand on the Secretary of State there to be forthright and come forth with information. Tell us about it.
Well, let's start with this. I can make this simple statement. The election in Georgia was not conducted in accordance with the legislative enactments, the duly enacted laws, the election code of the state of Georgia. And one of the worst parts of it was the whole absentee ballot program that was determined by the Secretary of State, not the legislature. And we believe that I've been working as a volunteer with the Trump campaign and the legal team in Georgia, and we have asked, today is the fifth time since November the 10th that we have asked the Secretary of State to conduct an audit of the signatures and verify that the signatures on the ballot applications, the absentee ballot applications, match the signatures on file on the voter registration cards, and then that those match the signatures on the absentee ballot envelopes. And he has so far refused to do that. So every time he does a recount, he first said he was going to do a thorough recount 2 weeks ago, no signature matching, and we asked for the recount under the statute because the margin is less than 0.5% in Georgia. And we have estimated, based on the percentage of rejected ballots that is customary, would mean that there should have been between 30 and 40,000 ballots rejected because they didn't match. And instead, statewide, even though you have a six-fold increase in the number of absentee ballots, the rejection rate was 0.3%. That is just simply, it's not statistically possible.
Right, because it's not in keeping with any of the other elections, including the primary election,
this year,
the 2018 general election, and the 2016. So those numbers don't lie. Now, we've had statisticians on before, and that says that doesn't necessarily point to fraud, but it's the smoke that leads to the fire of fraud when you look at that, because statistically those things just are not possible. Now, Cleta, I, for the benefit of our listeners, I just want to ask you a question. This may seem elementary, but some would say, well, look, these laws is kind of nitpicking. Enforcing the laws that govern our elections are absolutely fundamental to the preservation of our republic.
Well, not only that, Tony, you're 100% right. And this is one of the things that I said to our team on Friday. I said, we should have zero tolerance for violations of the law. The Constitution of the United States vests in the legislatures of the states the responsibility for determining the time, place, and manner for choosing federal officers. There's a separate constitutional provision that vests in the legislatures that the legislatures shall direct the manner by which presidential electors are to be chosen. Well, when the legislature of a state enacts a law and those provisions are violated repeatedly over and over in a myriad of ways and producing votes that are contrary to the statute, that is a violation of the U.S. Constitution.
Yes.
And we have evidence of at least 25 provisions of the statute that were violated, and ballots accepted, cast, counted, included in the tabulations that are well beyond the number of votes in this margin that gave the state to Joe Biden. I don't know how the Secretary of State can possibly certify with any degree of accuracy the election results in the presidential election. There are so many variables of illegal ballots that were allowed to be cast, failure to do a variety of just basic integrity work to make sure that those voters were eligible to vote under the laws of Georgia. And so we're going to be filing an even more robust petition later this week. But this particular thing, with the absentee ballots and the signature verification, we think that that's the first step to trying to get to the bottom of whether or not those absentee ballots were properly vetted and to ensure that they were cast by people who are duly registered in the state of Georgia.
Cleta Mitchell, very quickly on your way out, what's the time frame we're working with here?
Well, that's one of the problems in enforcing election laws is that the time frame is always so truncated after the election. Public policy being, we want to get the results done quickly. But we filed this letter today. There's a recount that's ongoing. We have asked him to please include this segment before he concludes the recount. And we hope to have our petition with all these other illegalities prepared and ready to file in the next 48 hours.
All right.
And
Thank
ask
you,
for
Cleta.
emergency relief.
We've got to leave it there. Folks, don't go away. We're back with more right after this.